about. The third principle is that it talks about personal and organizational responsibility. And that means that as public relations, we are communication professionals. We also represent organizations most times, and we are supposed to be responsible for the content we give out. So we should use AI more as an assistant, not as the person doing the thought processes for us. The fourth principle is awareness, openness, and transparency, where artificial intelligence intertwines with our daily lives and so influences us as individuals, organizations, and the decisions we make even in societies. So open disclosure is encouraged under this fourth principle. The fifth one is education and professional development, where it sees the need for members, communication professionals to avail themselves of training in responsible AI usage so that that can reflect in their practice. But the one I love all of them is active global voice. You know, this is where we're talking about who is training the machines that we use. How do we ensure that we have a mix of global voices so that everybody can find his voice within the data that has been provided to train the AI models that we use? Then the last one is human-centered AI for common good. Now, this is very, very debatable. It's very difficult because when you also look at it, when you talk about common good, who is defining what is good and who is defining what is human-centered? But the bottom line is that the Global Alliance for Public Relations and Communications Management has at least taken a step forward by providing us the need for us to begin to think about how we use AI in communication. Now there are several, when you come down to Africa, there are several examples with respect to repercussions for wrong application of AI. You know, we recently in a university where I examined candidates, we realized that there's a project that the candidate relied on AI. Now, he gave him the data quite all right, but most of the data are not supported. For instance, there are references that do not exist. There are quotations that do not exist. And of course, we are aware of that even in the corporate world. There's even a president whose speech was drafted by AI. Unknown to him, it is reproducing the speech by another president in some other clime. You know, so these are real situations. We need to understand that the AI does not think. I know when you prompt it at times, it tells you that it is thinking. It doesn't think. It is trying to look for where it can pull information that somebody has placed there. You know, and so we need to know that. So you were talking earlier about ethical safeguards. And I don't know if you mind me returning to that, because we have scholars here, we have professionals here. So I can talk about the safeguards to ensure that we keep to some of even these principles we're talking about. You know, one, to cure the disease of intellectual laziness, we must train ourselves and our colleagues to understand that AI should be an assistive tool. It's not a substitute for your thought process. Then on the issue of plagiarism, one of the ethical safeguards is to insist, and that will come by way of policies, like Teresa was saying. We should insist on mandatory disclosure of AI use. You know, this will connect with our to ensure that we have strict originality and citation policies. Nobody is saying you shouldn't use AI, but you must tell us the extent to which you use AI and for what. Then when you talk about the issue of lack of transparency, it also means that when you're talking about research, your methods, you should mention the level with which you have relied on AI. Then in the area of misinterpretation of context, it's important that when we examine candidates, we look for scholar-led contextualization of their findings. And that also can come during vivas. When the scholar knows that you ask them questions that they cannot type in prompt AI to give the answers immediately, they most likely will be at home, try to be at home with what they are talking about. Let's move to practice so that the scholars will not say all whatever. Ekaite got a PhD, she didn't have to rely on AI. And that's why we're celebrating her today. And that's why she's our chair. You know, now in the practice field of communication, one of the major problems is misinformation amplification. AI can spread falsehood very fast, you know, and we see it every day. And that's why we must insist on human verification before deployment. Media houses, media organizations should have that as a policy. Somebody should sign off on each story to say, I have verified this, so that when there is an issue tomorrow, you can call up that document. Then the aspect of undisclosed automation, which is also common in communication practice using AI, we must ban deceptive micro-targeting and dark patterns. We must never allow that in our practice. Then we should insist on cultural and contextual vetting of whatever report that is being published. And then when you also look at the reports on election, for instance, in our continent, in recent times, you'll find that there are too many people that are electoral umpires. And the one generated by AI even looks more believable than the one that is presented by the electoral umpire. Locally in Nigeria, we have the Nigerian Data Protection Law, which also provides some solutions to the concern we have about data sovereignty. But the truth is that we must address this issue of data sovereignty broadly. At the moment, in countries like Nigeria, we are in a very, very delicate situation. All the data we generate, at the moment we are talking about, there is an agreement between Nigeria and France on tax laws. There is some tension now. Does it mean that all our critical data, they would expose it to France? That is a very strategic mistake, which is currently being debated on the media platforms and governance platforms generally. So we do not have control of our data. And if you don't have control of your data and you know that AI relies on data, then it tells you that you will remain a passenger for very long. And so we must have organizations come up with policies that will make for incremental preparation of our practice field to be more, to take us more to an AI practice environment that we are in control. You know, so principles, they are important, but organizations need rules, guidelines, and whatever to govern the conduct of members with strict enforcement. And then at the national level, we must also look at the regulatory environment to see if those provide enough protection for the individual within society, for the nation in terms of his interests, for the community in terms of his cultural rights and all that. So these are some of the issues, but we need rules and laws or guidelines that can build safeguards based on the different scenarios that ethics plays within the AI usage domain.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you. Before we go, I want to go to the scholars, but before we go, I would like to recognize the presence of the immediate past president of ICA, Global President, Professor Noshir Contractor. Noshir, you are most welcome. Nigeria is always very proud. You've taken us, given us a lot of attention. You attend our events and provide a lot of support. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I also want to recognize, yeah.
I particularly like his name, that is a contractor.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Welcome. I enjoyed your presentation. Thank you all, and congratulations to ICA Nigeria for continuing to be so active in organizing it. And my special thanks to Teresa, who's a fellow of ICA and a major thought leader in this area, for taking the time to participate in this panel. So I'm just very grateful and proud to see how active ICA Nigeria is, and also to see how the fellows from ICA are contributing to this effort, this global effort. So thank you, and I won't take any more of your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Noshir.
Thank you, Noshir. Hello, how are you? Otto, is it possible to follow up a little bit on Professor Dandura's?
Okay.
Just to it's just 30 seconds or less. I think that all those principles that Professor talked are key, but the last remark, it's even more important that besides the ethical principles, we have to develop norms, guidelines, and strict enforcement of many of them, because what we have been finding in our own research with policymakers and developers is that many of them this is recent research, many of them are using the ethical guidelines as a way to bypass many of those strict enforcements. So they think we have to develop those guidelines, and of course we have to discuss them, collaborate, and many of those have to be situated in our own contexts, not just import from somewhere else. But also we have to be aware of the idea that ethical principles many times are they're really important, key, but they cannot be used just to what it's called do ethic washing, or just to bypass things that are critical, because end users cannot have all the weight of do communication scholars, or cannot have all the weight on following all those guidelines. Many times organizations and companies have to be more aware of that and enforce those things, such as content, like the human curation or human mediation, and many others that Professor, I'm going to go because he did great talking about that. Yeah, just that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I want to then move quickly to the scholars, the graduate scholars. Let's just hear from them. They are in the field. And what ICA Nigeria has tried to always do is to be a bridge between those who are the experts with years of experience and then those who are in the graduate scholarship, that kind of mentorship. So I would like to talk to Marjorie. I would like to call on Marjorie first to ask her how this session will be 20 minutes, the session with the scholars. So if you can talk within 3 minutes, how does AI show up in your workflow? How have you used it generally?
Thank you very much. I want to say a big thank you to both the facilitators. It's been wonderful. Teresa was great. Professor Dandaura, wonderful. I actually gained a lot. However, repeatedly, I kept hearing this phrase used, intellectual laziness. It was really weird to me, because you don't know that even to use AI as a student, if you are not intelligent enough, the prompts that you have to issue to this AI will be impossible. In fact, for me, I think that the more intelligent you are, the better you can use AI. Because unlike, people who don't use AI for their researches, you would have a limited angle to whatever, research topic that you have. But if you have intelligence, you keep quizzing that particular topic using different, AI platforms. to expand your view and knowledge of that particular topic. Okay, so I'm speaking today as a PhD student of River State University and Port Harcourt, and I have been in the academics I'm just returning to the academics. I've been working, being a professional, being a leader, being a manager, you know, and you know that men looking at me, I grew up with a traditional way of researching, where we had long hours waiting for the supervisors, taking one, you know, typing long, horrible. Now I know it's horrible. Then it was a norm, okay? And it was so limiting. I'm glad I'm back in school now. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten to experience, you know, what I'm getting. I know you said 3 minutes, but I'm trying to see how I can summarize all of this in 3 minutes. You know, I am so lucky to be in school now and to have AI aid me. It is a blessing rather than a curse. I'll tell you that. I don't know about other people, but this is my reality and this is my truth. So talking about, you know, what AI does for me, I remember about 2 weeks ago when I had a proposal defense, my thesis, and one of my professors said something that was striking, and he said, "Oh, you know, your university now would put certain regulations down against the use of AI." And I thought, we're already using AI. Shouldn't the problem or the real question be, what kind of use are we supposed to use the AI for? I don't know if it makes sense. I'll take it again. We're already using AI. Everyone uses AI. I think that even when they come to give us these lecture notes, most of them get it from AI. Because if you take a voice recording and throw it into AI, it shows you the exact sites where they got the lectures from. Okay, so they're using, and now at my proposal defense, you tell me, you know, you can't use AI. I don't think that's appropriate. I would rather you tell me what not to use AI, you know, for, and maybe how the regulations should be, rather than you can't use AI at all. I'm glad that the professor is here, and then he will answer me based on that, because I don't get that concept. They use AI. Prof, you use AI even for your lectures, but you're telling me not to use AI for my thesis. How? Where do you want me to get all of that volume from? To do literature review? And then at a limited time, you know what the education system is in Nigeria? Everything is in a rush. They approve your topic for within a period of 2 weeks, and then the next week you're supposed to present. Where are you going to get that volume of research work, if not through the help of AI? I'd hope you'd answer that. And then we're also talking about different angles. Because as a PhD student, what I know, or what when you become a doctorate holder, every single aspect of your profession, you should be able to know. How many books can you consume now? Where in Nigeria, the economy now situation is that you can't even hold one job, you have to hold multiple jobs. So you're so distracted. There's the TikTok will distract you, there's YouTube, there's IG, there's X, and then the country is going agog. You don't even have time to focus on 2 textbooks. More if you have to do so much. AI is saving us. You can tell us, maybe, you know, I don't know. And they said, oh, they were going to test for plagiarism. And they were going to test your work to know if you use AI. Hello, there's AI to humanize your work as well. So what are we now talking about? Everyone is just being, you know, like pushing out, but not really facing the reality of what students are going through. I have so much, but I'm just going to allow my other students to speak. I hope I get another opportunity. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I'll call on Obed. So I won't ask you to say the same thing. So I would then, because she has highlighted some of those challenges and opportunities. What are those challenges you had? Are you having the same one where scholars, your supervisors are also challenging whether you should or should not?
Sorry. Hello, everyone. Glad to be here once again. So with me, challenges using AI. I think in my work personally, I think when it comes to challenges in using AI, I'd like to think about who creates the data that goes into training AI systems. And this was something I had to wrestle with during my master's work. Sorry, I'm just a bit choked. I had to wrestle with it during my master's work because I did my master's in language, and there was always the tension between what you're submitting, how what you're submitting is being written, and it was almost the case. I did this master's in 2023, and it was almost the case that every day somebody was throwing around, this is AI generated and that is AI generated. And it just led me down the path where I had to start looking at who is training this data, who is training this AI system. And it led me towards data analysis and my friends in the tech field. And they showed me how they take part in the cleaning of data and in the cleaning of the data that is used to train AI systems. And it then occurred to me that if these are the people training data, and these people are similar to me, we would talk similarly, and they would reflect these things onto these data sets that they are handling. And I think that realization just brought me into a new frame, talking about challenges. And I think with that, the biggest challenge I've had with using AI in my work has been people acknowledging that AI is not AI and is not this very, very objective system, but it is actively shaped. It is actively shaped by humans and human interactions and human beings. The humans that train, the humans that the human data that it is trained on, the linguistic patterns. In my notes, I wrote how this crisis is sort of brought on by this personification and speaking about AI as a person and an almost anthropomorphization of these systems and how this sort of obscures the human component. So yeah, that for me, that's the challenge I've encountered using AI in my work, because it ends up being the case that you run my work through plagiarizing checks. It's coming up as AI generated. It's coming up as 70%, 80%. And most of the time I'm sitting down to write these things on my own, or when somebody sees an M dash, in quote, as it's called colloquially, when somebody sees it, people are like, oh, that's AI generated. And I'm like, but that's something I use every day. Yes, so that's the biggest challenge I've had. Thank you.
Okay. One common one that I've heard about that people say it's wrongly flagging their work as AI generated. Okay, I'll take the last one first. Before I'll ask for responses from Professor Dandara and Teresa. So that's from Michelle. Michelle, what would you say are the kinds of maybe ways you've tried to overcome some of these challenges, if you've had them? Are there ways you have overcome them? Those of you raising your hands, please, if you have questions that you can share within the chat box, you can. If not, at 4:30, that's in about 20 minutes time, we're still going to open the floor for you to speak.
All right, thank you very much, Sam.
Personally, I haven't faced the challenges that they have faced. But yes, the issue of doing something original and then getting it flagged by plagiarism checks, AI checkers as AI generated is a challenge that we're struggling to face. You know, I've had cause to try to rephrase, paraphrase works that I've done because even though they were generated by me, I wrote them. And when it goes through the plagiarism checkers, you know, it comes out, oh, this is AI generated. And I always question, so where does the human touch come in? If everything I write or if everything we write, you know, flagged as AI. So just like my other fellow scholars have stated, this is a challenge. Honestly, I've been wondering how we can overcome it. In fact, recently I had a conversation with a few people and I was saying maybe we should come up with if we can get our own AI checkers in these parts of the world because I mean these tools are not Nigerian or African originated. So probably that's one thing that contributes to it flagging our works. So if Africa as a continent can come up with our own checkers perhaps would have limited cases of original works flagged as AI. Thank you.
Oh, yes, very true. That's a possibility. Okay, so I'll ask Prof to